Now, the other day I was having a conversation with this lady and she told me, Boni, I think nimerogwa. And I was curious, like, why would you think you're cursed? And she told me, I have this problem. Every time I meet a guy, I like them, we fall in love, something always happens and that relationship falls apart. I don't know why it happens, but it keeps happening. It has happened with different men and it has ended up the same way. Like all these relationships end the same way. None of them lasts. And I came to realize that this is a problem that many women are facing. This is a relationship that many women are going through. And no, that's not it. Okay. So now I met this lady. So story time. I met this lady and she told me, Buni, me I think nimerogwa. And I was curious. I asked her, why would you think that you're cursed? And she told me, my story is every time I meet a guy that I like and get into a relationship, something happens and it falls apart. This is not the first time it's happening. It has happened more than once, and the story is the same. Different guy, same story. We meet, fall in love, we get into a relationship, and something out of nowhere, it collapses. And she told me, like, all these relationships end the same way. Either the guy will ghost me, or we are going to get into a fight and he will just leave me. Even sometimes there are things that we can fix, but he'll get mad and he'll fail to understand me and it's going to break up. Or sometimes the relationship just fades away. No fights, no drama, just drift apart. And now it has reached a point where I'm getting tired because it's exhausting to start over every time. Meet somebody, fall in love, and then break up again. Like, it gets exhausting, especially the older you get. And it has reached a point where now this lady is, so frustrated to a point where now he's kind of giving up on relationships. He's giving up on men. He's giving up on relationships. Not that he doesn't want to be in a relationship. Not that she doesn't want to be in a relationship. She wants, but it's not working for her. She's angry, she's bitter. She's not even sure whether she's bitter with marriage and relationships or she's bitter with men. Like, she can't even tell. And at some point, you start to ask yourself, am I good enough? Does it mean I'll never find love? Is it that I am unlovable? Is there something wrong with me? But as a woman, the moment you stop beating yourself too much, you can be able to look at this situation and see things a bit differently. So let us look at this situation. And if you're in the same situation, maybe this will help you give answers. So if you look at it keenly, you're going to realize that, number one, there is a pattern. You meet somebody, you like each other, things are going well, to a point where you fall in love, maybe get into a relationship, and then the relationship breaks. When it breaks, you meet somebody else, same process, same thing happens. You meet someone else, same thing happens, and the outcome is the same. So now, you can tell from here that you're not the problem. There's a problem somewhere, yes, but you're not the problem. Okay? And that's very important to note. Because now, when you know there's a problem somewhere and you're not the problem, number one, you stop judging yourself too harshly. You will realize that, yes, you're lovable, you're good enough, you deserve love, and you're going to get a good partner and be in the kind of relationship that you dream about. But for that to happen, we need to first of all figure out where this problem is coming from. Okay? And now that we know the problem is not here, now let's look at where else the problem could be coming from. So the first place the problem could be coming from is from this guy, the kind of men you're meeting. Maybe the men you're meeting are the problem. I don't know. We're going to find out. Or number two, we're going to look at this pattern again. And we're going to ask ourselves, what do we know about patterns? If you've been following me long enough, I've talked about patterns. And what we know about patterns is whenever there is a... So let's talk about patterns. So what we know is that whenever there is a pattern, there is a problem. Okay? So here there is a pattern. Meet people, fall in love, collapses. So there's that pattern. So we already know there's a pattern. So we know there's a problem. So somewhere around here in this circle, there is somewhere where there is a problem. Okay? And this is our problem right here. And we are going to figure out what that problem is. What do you know about problems? We know that behind every problem, there is what we call blockages. Okay, and behind every blockage, we have spirit. So whatever is happening in this pattern, there's a problem. And in that problem, inside this problem, we have blockages. And now these blockages, remember we said blockages block they cut out the flow of energy so that we don't get the outcomes that we want. Sorry, something with my throat. So these blockages are the ones that are creating these problems. So that means this problem is affecting you. You're not the problem, but there's a problem, and the problem is affecting you. And this problem has blockages. And when these blockages come into the picture, your relationships fall apart. So that means if you don't have this problem here, then your relationships will work, because now there's nothing blocking the flow of energy. So if you can be able to fix this problem and find out if there's a problem here and fix it, everything will be okay, because you'll get the right people, you'll get the right guys, and then you will fall in love with them. And because there is no problem, the relationship will thrive. Okay? So now that we understand where the problem is, this is the problem. The problem could be here. So let us look for the problem. Having such a... I don't know what's happening. I don't know if it's these markers or what. So let us look at... so we are going to look at... we are going to find the problem in two areas. Area number one, the man, to see if you're getting the right man. And number two, we're going to look for the problem in that pattern. Okay? So now let me use a different pen here. So how do you know if you're dating the right man? If you're dating the right man, the best way to know is doing something we call compatibility check. Okay? So what do we look for in a compatibility check? In a compatibility check, number one, we look for spiritual compatibility. So what do we look for in a spiritual compatibility? We look at how you guys are compatible spiritually from a lower level. That is from a physical level, from a mental level, and the spiritual level. So we look at things like your communication, your grounding, things like your knowledge and stuff like that. That is what we look out for. And then something else that we look out for is something called spiritual, which is very important, spiritual needs. What are your spiritual needs? What are his spiritual needs? Can you satisfy his spiritual needs? Can he satisfy his spiritual needs? So spiritual needs, we look at things like certainties, uncertainties. We look at the factors that drive and motivate us at a deeper spiritual level. And this is one of the things that causes so many problems in relationships. So if we can be able to unearth what is happening here, it will help you figure out whether this person is the right person for you. You can be able to know what drives them. So if they have money, are they most likely to cheat on you? If they're cheating on you, what are some of the things that would make them cheat on you? so that if we fix those ones, then we are going to eliminate things like cheating. How is this person likely to be in future? You can even do some very accurate predictions, and you can tell, will this person change when they get money? So that if they are not financially stable right now, that if you support them and they become financially stable, they might behave in a certain way. Or sometimes if you become more successful than them, will they take you as an enemy, or will they work with you? It's very important to understand some of these things because they will save you so many problems in future. Okay. Something else that we check for when you're doing a compatibility check, we do something called a suitability. We do a suitability test. What is a suitability test? A suitability test, we look at, are you two people good for each other? Are you a good match? We can call it a suitability test or a suitability match. Are you two a good fit? We can check what kind of compatibility you guys have. There's different types of compatibilities. You don't have to be the same with somebody for you to be compatible. Sometimes you can be opposites, but what they lack, you have, and what you have, they lack. So the two of you kind of come together nicely. Sometimes you're very similar and you have some small differences. So how can you work those differences between the two of you? So instead of asking him what his favorite color is, now you have deeper conversations. You have conversations that actually lead somewhere. You already know what you need to work on. Something else we look maybe within the suitability test, we can also see what is lacking between, what is lacking from you, what is lacking from him, or what is lacking in both of you, so that you guys can work on such things together. So when you're starting a relationship with this person, you guys already know the areas where you're supposed to be focusing on. So when you say you're working on your relationships, you're trying to create a bond that goes beyond the physical, that goes beyond the emotions, that goes beyond the surface level that people see. And now from this compatibility check, we can tell whether this guy is good for you or bad for you. So if you're picking the wrong guys, then you now know what to look for in a man. And every time you get a man, you do the compatibility test. We tell you whether it's worth pursuing or not. So that will save you a lot of time. Okay. If you don't have the budget to do a compatibility check, you can do it the old school way. Take this guy to your parents, take this guy to friends that you trust, find a man or a woman who is older than you, who can ask the correct questions, do your background research and all those things. It's going to take you a lot of time and probably you'll spend some money along the way. Or you can just go for the easier route. You invest in your relationship, you do a compatibility check, and within a few hours, we have the answers. We know whether this person is worth pursuing or not. And that is how we fix problem number 1, using a compatibility check. Okay? So now we go to problem number 2, this pattern. Okay? So what do we know about this pattern? We know that behind every pattern, there's a problem. So somewhere in here, there's a problem. So we ask ourselves, what do we know about problems? So this is you. Okay. This is you. And we are trying to look for the problem. So one thing we know about problem is that all your problems, all the problems that you have, they fall somewhere on this line. All the problems that you have fall somewhere on this line. So on this line, this is where you are right now. Okay? To the left of this line, we have something called your past life. Okay? You have something called your past life. And on the other side, we have something called your future. So all your problems fall between either in your past life or in your future. Okay? And where you stand here is called the now. All right? So all these problems from the past are things that have already happened. And all the problems in the future are problems that have not happened. They are things that are yet to come. Okay? So the past, this one, the past life is made of something we call memories. So everything here is something that has happened and it's something that you can remember. The future, because it doesn't exist, is made up of imagination. So why is it important to understand this? It's important because your past life, issues from your past life can carry over and affect your future. Issues from your past life are affecting you right now. Okay? So what are some of these problems that come from the past life? Number one, we have things like childhood trauma. We talk about generational curses. We talk about things like past experiences that you've had. We talk about the stories you tell yourself, personal stories. We talk about family cycles. The environments that you've been in or you've attached yourself into, things that you've come to believe, all these things are problems that could be inside here. And any of these things could be affecting your relationships. Okay? For example, you have childhood trauma. So there is things that you see that trigger you. And maybe when this guy comes and does something or tells you something or they make you feel a some type of way, you're triggered. And because you're triggered, you pull back and then they think you're no longer interested and they pull back and the relationship just fades. Or generational curses. You find that in your family, women don't get married. And even the ones who get married, their relationships break or their marriages end. So the same thing is happening to you. Every time you get a man, that relationship has to end because there is what we call generational curse in your marriage. In your past life, or somebody, maybe your parents told you you'll never find love as long as I'm alive. All those kind of curses. Yeah. Maybe the past experiences that you've had. You've had men who have treated you badly, men who have said things that were painful to you. So when this guy behaves like the guys in your past, you pull back and just like that, the relationship falls apart. The stories you tell yourself, oh, I don't believe that good men exist. So even when you find a good man, you're doubting them, you're not giving them enough chances, you're not creating a conducive environment for them to try and build something with you. So they feel like maybe you're not interested or you don't love them enough and they ghost you. We have things like family cycles. There are things that keep happening in different families. Maybe in your family, you find that every time somebody finds love, they either learn something about your past or somebody tells them something or something just happens and that relationship collapses and the man loses interest in you. So there's that cycle that keeps on happening in your family. And unless you break it, it will keep affecting you and probably maybe your children or your siblings. The environment that you've been in, you've grown up in places where relationships don't work. You've grown up in places where people believe that, you're not supposed to put any effort in relationships. So whatever your environment has molded you to be can affect this kind of a setup. Also, the beliefs that you have can affect this kind of setup. So here at number 2, the problem here could be any of these things from your past. Also, it could be a problem from the future. So what are some of these future problems that we face? Number 1 is one called overthinking. This is a very big problem. Overthinking is a future problem because The things that you're overthinking are already things that have not happened. You're imagining things, okay? And also anxiety. So these problems could be inside here also. So this guy does something, they don't pick your phone, or they tell you something and you feel some type of way about it, you start overthinking. When you start overthinking, you come up with some very fertile imagination, you start creating situations that are not there, you develop cold feet, and then this person leaves. You get into a fight or you pull back and then they see like you're not interested, they ghost you. Another thing is anxiety. Every time you come around this person, you become anxious. When you become anxious, you hold back. And this person translated like, maybe you don't like me, you don't trust me. And for that reason, they can either start a fight with you, argue with you, try to make you see the point, or they can just ghost you if they don't want to be interested. Or if it keeps happening, the gap keeps getting wider and wider. So now any of these things could be a problem. So how do you know exactly what problem is here? To know that, we do the same thing that we did here. We do a spiritual audit. Here we did a compatibility check. Here now we do something called a spiritual audit. A spiritual audit, in another language, we call them readings. You've heard people talk about readings, yeah? So a reading basically means we're going to look at your life from here, going back. From 1 minute ago, we can go back all the way. You know, some of these readings can be really deep depending on what you're doing. So, and here is where we are going to check for all these things. Okay, so we are going to check at your spiritual energies, or what we call a spiritual profile, which you can also see from here. You can do a spiritual profile. We can look at your gifts, what people call nyota yako. We can look at what we call the 40s. We look at your past, we look at your purpose, we look at all those things. And then we are going to see what problem here is affecting your life in what way. Okay, so a spiritual audit will help you navigate all these problems and find the exact problem that is inside here. Okay, and it's also going to help us with something we call a recommendation. Recommendation means how to deal with the problem. Okay, so from this one, we can be able to identify what problem is we are having here and ways in which we can fix the problem. So once we fix whatever problem is here, then we are going to cancel this problem. So the next time you meet somebody, there will be no patterns, there will be no blockages. So you just meet them, fall in love, and this time round, that relationship will be a green flag. It will work. Why? Because you have fixed problem number one. We now know you're dealing with the right person. Number two, we know some of the blockages that have been creating problems in your love life. So we fixed them. Wherever they came from, we fixed them. And because now we fixed them, there's no problem. And we had realized that if this problem was not there, the relationships would be working. So we've taken care of the problem. So now there's no problem. Your relationships will work. And you're going to meet the man of your dreams. You're going to get married. You're going to have kids, beautiful kids. You know, boys and girls. In our community, we say, you know, we pray that God mixes boys and girls for you, and you are going to live happily thereafter. And as you can see, as my people say, there's nothing elephant, there's nothing too big. So whatever it is that you think is too big, it's not as big as you imagine. I know you say, oh, but you know, I've tried everything, nothing is working. Now you have new information. Now you know better. Now you know that there are things you didn't know. And now you know that there is someone who probably knows something that you don't know and can be able to fix the kind of problem that you have. So if any of these things is happening in your life, just know it can be fixed. So don't beat yourself too hard. Don't give up on your dream of getting married. If it's a desire that you have and it's something that you really want, just come and let's have a conversation and let's figure out how we can fix whatever it is that is blocking that dream, it's blocking that husband, that is blocking that marriage that you desire. And we are going to fix it, and whatever it is that you desire is going to happen. So don't beat yourself too hard. And if you can see where you're stuck or where you feel like you're stagnating in this whole process, just talk to Boni Chama and we'll take care of it. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next lesson.